Yo, what's happening people, and welcome back to the channel. Now I've been making a lot of lo-fi music recently, so I thought it would make sense for me to break down a couple of the loops and show you exactly what goes into making vintage sounding lo-fi melodies. If you are new to the channel, then do me a favour and turn that subscribe button grey and hit the bell next to it so you can be notified every time that I upload. I'm closing in on 500 subscribers, and when I hit that milestone I'm going to be releasing a pack with melodies, drums and loads more. Now with all that stuff out the way, let's break down these loops. So the first loop I'm going to be breaking down today is called Quiet Place, and I made this at 80 BPM in the key of D, and I'm in the major scale. A lot of the lo-fi music that I listen to use major scales, and they also use slower BPM, so I feel like this is a good place to start. So the first instrument I added is one that I'm adding in 9 out of 10 of my lo-fi tracks now, and it's the Spitfire Audio Labs soft piano. This piano is perfect for lo-fi because it already has a sort of vintage old feel to it. Now I'm just going to go into the clip and talk a bit more about the chord progression and how I came up with it. Now a lot of lo-fi music is inspired by genres like jazz and soul, and these genres tend to use more complex chords, and they utilize 7th and 9 chords a lot more, and can even go across multiple scales and keys. And I'll show you what I mean by that now. So if I come into this clip and hit fold, so only the notes that are in the melody are shown, you'll see that this G sharp doesn't actually belong to this D major scale. However, if I play it, nothing's going to jump out as being out of key. So I wanted to make this piano sound a little bit more old and vintage, so I just added a bandpass and then added a slight dip at around 500 Hz. I then just tweaked this lo-fi quiver preset from the Tape Melofi plugin by Arturia. Next I went over to Analog Lab, found this toy piano sound and pretty much just copied the chords. Then you'll see the effects are pretty much the same. I've just added Soothe 2 to dumb down some of those mid frequencies. After this I added 2 hi-hat patterns, the first of which is a little faster and then the second one's a bit slow. If I come into this first one, you'll also see that I've dragged a lot of these hi-hats slightly off the grid, and this is just going to give us a bit of bounce. Now I'm using some real harsh EQ techniques here, and this is just to make these hi-hats fit in with the rest of the loop, so I'll let you have a listen to how the first one sounds and then I'll bring the second one in. The last thing I added to this loop was a little bit of texture, and I went with this bird sound from the Pattern Sounds Liftoff kit. So as you can see here, I'm using harsh EQs again just to isolate the frequencies that I really like the sound of. I then just added some delay and a little bit of reverb onto it. So with all those layers added, the final loop sounds like this. Alright, so the next loop I'm going to break down is called Early Bird. This one is 81 BPM, I'm in the key of F sharp and I'm using a Dorian scale. If you think the last melody was simple, then just wait till you see this one. So as you'll see here, this loop literally contains one instrument. For this one, I just let the melody do the talking rather than stacking loads of instruments on top of each other. So if I go into this clip here, you're going to see that the chords are still nice and spread out. I'm using 7th and 9th chords, and this is just going to make this progression sound a lot more full. Then as you'll see here, I'm just using notes from within the scale to pass from chord to chord. And if I just zoom in a little bit, you'll see that some of these notes are offset off the grid a little bit as well, just to keep that swing going. For the second 4 bars, I literally just copied this across and then added a bit of variation just so it didn't get repetitive. Then if I zoom into the start of my chord, you're going to see that I've got these strummed out. Now I like to do this manually for 2 reasons. Reason 1 is because you have a bit more control, so if I zoom in, you're going to see that each strum has its own character, so it's never going to get boring and repetitive. And reason 2 is because Ableton doesn't have a feature to do this. Then all I did for the second 8 bars was copied it all across and remove the top melody, and this is just going to give people an extra piece if they want to use it for verses or bridges. For effects on this, I've got a real simple low shelf on my EQ. I've added RC20 with the vinyl 3 preset, and I'll just always turn this noise module off. And then on top of that, I just added Tape Mello-Fi with the Oh So Lo-Fi preset. I probably should have said this at the start, but the instrument I'm using is the Relic Upright from the Hammers and Waves Banking Contact. Then just to finish it off, I added Cymatic Space with the Space preset, and I've got my dry wet at around 20%. And that left the piano sounding like this. So that is going to bring us to the end of today's video. Hopefully after watching this, you'll understand some of the fundamentals of making lo-fi melodies. If you did like any of the melodies that you heard today, they're available in the Sleepless kit by Pattern Sounds. I'll leave some links to that in the description below. It's 100% free and it's got some sick lo-fi melodies in there, so go check that out. If you enjoyed the video, then make sure to leave it a like before you leave, and if that subscribe button's still red, then turn it grey. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll catch you all in the next one.